Well, welcome, folks, to the new America. No longer AAA rated. Pimco CEO Mohamed El-Erian joins us now with his take on this critical move. Mohamed, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So S&P told me that they expect the impact of this downgrade to be, quote, relatively mild. At the same time, they acknowledge the volatile market. Is there any way in your mind that this could be relatively mild in terms of an impact to global stability?
Well, it's relatively mild in the sense that even though the issuer of treasuries has been downgraded, the treasury market isn't getting hit. And that's because in that segment, you cannot replace something with nothing hollow. There's nobody else to pop in and replace the treasury market as the most liquid and the deepest market. However, there is dramatic influence elsewhere because there are a number of signals coming out of this. The first is that the growth outlook for the global economy is going to be worse. Second, there's a question mark as to whether policymakers can react. Not only whether they have enough bullets left, having spent so many, but also are they able to react given the political constraints. So you're seeing these very dramatic moves in different markets that basically reflect growth dynamics, policy issues, and the fact that the U.S. Treasury market still has the monopoly on the most liquid and deepest market in the world.
Does the downgrade risk an exacerbation, if you will, of the headwinds facing the U.S. economy? When we spoke last, you talked about the fear that you think is a real fear of unemployment hitting 10% in the next 6 months. Does this downgrade exacerbate the problems already facing us?
Unfortunately, it does. It is not happening in isolation. That's the problem. It's happening in the context of a series of weak numbers that suggest that the economy is already slowing in the U.S. It's happening in the context of a synchronized global slowdown. It's happening in the context of a European debt crisis. So this is yet another blow to what was already fragile business and household confidence. If you think of this concept of animal spirit, what makes a capitalist system invest and take risk, animal spirits are going to be at a very low level, and therefore growth is going to be lower than would have been otherwise, and unfortunately unemployment is going to be higher than it would have been otherwise.
On the jobs front, where does unemployment go from here, Mohamed? What is your 6-month prediction?
That is the saddest element of it, and it's the one that concerns us the most, and it should concern everybody. This is going to be a significant headwind to job creation. So the unemployment rate of 9.1 or the underemployment rate of 16% is going to head higher. And it's going to head higher despite the fact that people are exiting the labor force. The second element that's equally worrisome is that the average time of unemployment is going to go up. So people are going to be unemployed for longer. And two things happen. When you're unemployed for longer, your skill erosion goes up. And secondly, let's not forget that about 24% of the youngest, the 16 to 19-year-old in the labor force, are already unemployed. And the longer you're unemployed at that age, the more unemployable you become. So the outlook for the jobs market is worrisome, and hopefully that will get Washington, D.C. to focus on what this country needs.
What level do you believe unemployment will hit then in the next 6 months? And I'd say more importantly, all of those not counted in the unemployment rate, which makes the reality of unemployment in this country, as you said, closer to 16%. Where does that go?
So if you look at the most comprehensive number, which looks at the whole adult population, ask the question, how much of the adult population is today is working? That number has been in steady decline, and we're now down to 58%. Okay, so 58% of the adult population in the U.S. is working. We were in the mid-60s 2-3 years ago. So this is a dramatic fall that has occurred in that number. We're worried that that number will continue to decline. You could see it decline by another 1%, 1.5%, and that is a really worrisome prospect. And everything should be done to make sure that that prospect doesn't materialize.
Looking at the new global reality, if we will, for a moment, what is that now in this new downgraded world for the United States that impacts the entire global economy? What's the new reality?
There's two elements of the new reality, both of which remain somewhat uncertain. The first one is the global system. Poppy, it's very simple, that the global system is built on the assumption that you have a AAA at its core. That is the anchor. We no longer have a AAA at the core of the system. We have a AA plus at the core of the system. We don't know how a global system will react, because in the past, we've had other countries that were able to step in and replace the AAA. That's not the case today. So there's a legitimate question out there, and we don't have the answer for it. We talk about it a lot, but we don't have high conviction in one outcome. There's a legitimate question out there. Does the system simply renormalize and everything operates again with a AA plus in the middle? Or do you accelerate a journey towards a multipolar world? So that's a question out there. In terms of domestic elements, there was the hope, and there still is the hope, that this is the wake-up call. This is what we needed in the United States for what we have called at Pimco the Sputnik moment, a recognition that the U.S. is on a gradual secular decline and that the standing of the U.S. in the global economy is being eroded. And that hopefully the loss of the AAA will be the catalyst for a Sputnik moment defined as a sense of purpose and unity among the political class to put this country back on the road for prosperity. Unfortunately, the first reactions do not speak to a Sputnik moment. They speak to more squabbles. Over the weekend, there was a massive blame game in Washington. Question is, who lost the AAA? And the Democrats saying, was the Republicans because of the political tactics in the debt ceiling. The Republicans saying, what are you talking about? It's you guys, the Democrats, who did it because of your irresponsible government spending. We need to put this behind us and start to claim the future as opposed to argue about the past.